Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
Great Scott! There's no crying in baseball!
You better hold on tight, Spider Monkey.
This is where the fun begins.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. That's right, we're ranking Step Brothers. Step Brothers is a 2008 American comedy film. The film follows two immature, middle-aged men that are forced to live together after their single parents marry. Now, if you do not like Will Ferrell and you're expecting me to just go on about how much this movie is not funny, you're in the wrong place. I love Will Ferrell, I love John C. Reilly, and I love this movie. So let's talk about the 10 essential aspects of a movie. First is plot. Does the movie follow a comprehensive story arc and is plausible within the world that has been created? The story of this movie, the plot, makes for great comedy. I mean, the idea of two 38, 39-year-old men still living at home and then having to come together, it's just funny. It makes for a lot of funny scenes. I also enjoyed the story that they were telling on maturity and some of the themes that go with maturity and being immature or being mature. I enjoyed it. I just thought it was funny. Thought the story was well put together. Second is attraction. Does the movie have an interesting premise with a high entertainment value? I think the story is interesting and leans well to comedy, but if you do not like Will Ferrell, you're not going to like this movie. He does do somewhat different comedy in different roles, but if you don't like him in movies, he's worse in this movie. If you think maybe the introduction of John C. Reilly is going to make it different, it's only worse. Again, it's a movie about two immature adults, so they just go crazy. And if you like that comedy, you're going to love this movie. If you don't, you're going to hate it. Third is theme. What message or truth is a movie trying to convey? I think the message is very simple. It's just don't lose your dinosaur. That's what it's saying. It's don't lose that kid part of you. Maturing sucks, but everybody has to mature. You have to acquire responsibility, and it does change you. But I feel the message overall in this movie is that it's don't let that control you. Don't lose the kid side of you that you used to have. Fourth is dialogue. Is there a real feel to the conversations? Now, a lot of this movie is improv, and it's perfect. It's so quotable. There are so many lines in this movie that are just hilarious, and I would say I quote one of these lines in my life probably once a month, if not once every 2 months. That's pretty good for a movie, I would say. The dialogue is fantastic. I mean, the way Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly just bounce off each other, it's hilarious and gives just funny moments that I often repeat in my own life. Fifth is acting. Are the characters convincing? I would say the acting in this movie is good for comedy. I would say all these characters are convincing. You believe they are who they say they are, and the way they act is very convincing to the maturity that they are. I mean, Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly, it's just Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly roles, and they do a good job with their roles. I would say Adam Scott is somewhat of a standout as Derek. Part of it is a character, but I just think he really brings to life that you just don't like this guy. He is not a good person, and you just hate him. I think that's a credit to him as an actor. I just think he did a good job of bringing that out in that role. But otherwise, the acting is good for a comedy movie. Sixth is cinematography. Is there a creative use of lighting, setting, and wardrobe to convey emotion? There's nothing flashy with the cinematography. It's very basic. I don't really think there's anything that interesting. Emotion-wise, it tries to have some sort of emotion at the end, but it's not really trying that hard. It does. It really does change the tone of the movie towards the end. They do a good job of taking you from a movie that was just purely comedy to having some sort of other thoughts, making you feel something else other than just thinking it was funny. But ultimately the goal was for the movie to be funny, and that's what it was. Seventh is editing. This is all about the pace of the movie. The movie is 1 hour and 35 minutes long. That's a good length. That's a good length for a comedy. I think every movie that is not trying to go for an Oscar should stay around the hour and 30-minute mark. Any comedy needs to stay around that mark. That is a good time for a movie. You don't feel shorthanded, like you didn't get enough story, but you also don't feel like it drug out for way too long. 8th is soundtrack. Soundtrack is one of those things that's not necessarily needed in a movie, but if you do it right, it really helps a movie. This is one of those movies that it helped a lot. I thought it was funny. I mean, Boats and Hoes, come on. That is an instant hit. That is a classic. It's such a funny song. The way they used music for comedy in this movie, it's just done well and is really funny. 9th is directing. Now, I feel the director is in charge of the previous 8 aspects. They're the ones that have to give it their stamp of approval, put it all together, and make a really good movie. The director of this movie is Adam McKay, and this was his 3rd movie. The 3 movies that he directed to this point were Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, Talladega Nights, The Ballet of Ricky Bobby, and finally, Step Brothers. Obviously, this is Will Ferrell's man. He has struck gold with what he can do with Will Ferrell. I feel he does an amazing job. Those 3 movies, love them all. They're all fantastic movies to me. They're all really funny. I really enjoy Will Ferrell. I think he brings the best out of Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. He lets them be them. But one thing I really praise about him is I have seen some of the extended versions or unrated versions of these movies, and he does a really good job of picking out the best when it comes to the improv lines. When they do improv, normally they are spitting out line. They'll do a line and then they'll redo the scene and redo another line and then do another line. They'll just do a million of them and give the director a bunch of choices on what he feels is the funniest or fits the scenes the best. I think this guy has a great talent at picking out jokes that are funny and memorable, because I have seen some of the other improv lines and they're not nearly as funny. He has chosen the ones that were actually funny. I just think he's good at what he does, and his connection with Will Ferrell is special. 10th is time. Will it stand the test of time? Just depends if you like Will Ferrell or not. If you like him, then you'll probably like pretty much any of his movies, and this one will fall right into those group of movies. So for me personally, I do like him, so it definitely stands the test of time. I watch it all the time. I've seen it a million times. I really enjoy it. If you don't like him, then obviously it won't for you. Now for the review section. Rotten Tomatoes critics gives it a 54. The audience gives it a 69. And IMDb gives it a 69. Now, I get it. If you are attempting to take this movie seriously, then no, it's not a fantastic movie. It wasn't meant to be taken seriously. If you don't like Will Ferrell's comedy, then you're not going to like it. And that's where I think a number like 54 comes from, where you just have a bunch of people that probably take movies really, really seriously, or like to take movies really seriously, even though I do as well. There's some people that just, comedy is not a genre they like at all. It doesn't matter what comedy. I'm not one of those people. I do enjoy these. 69, I feel, is low. I do think that comedies have a limit. When you compare them to every movie ever, I just don't know if you're going to get a movie that's a comedy in the 90s unless it just has a serious aspect to it in some way. Step Brothers doesn't, so there's a cap on how good it really can be, but 69 is too low for me. I would put this movie more in the upper 70s range, maybe like an 80. I just think it's a funny movie. It always makes me laugh. The story is easily repeatable and easy to just watch again and laugh. I just enjoy that. I think that's a great sign of a movie. I understand some people may not like Will Ferrell, but I do, and I think this movie is a high C to maybe just a low B. Now for the rankings. For the year of 2008, it is the only movie I have done, so it is going to be first in entertainment and cinematography. For the decade of the 2000s, out of 5 total movies on the entertainment side, it is going to be second, just below Redline and above The Whole 9 Yards. I've got it below Redline. Personally, Redline is not as funny as Step Brothers, now or was it trying to be, but Redline is better in every other way. It is an extremely entertaining movie. I will watch it probably quite probably more than Step Brothers. If I had to choose to watch one, I would definitely choose Redline. Even though I love Step Brothers, Redline just has so many aspects to that I like about it, and there's just more there than what Step Brother has to offer. Now, I have it above The Whole Nine Yards. That is a really hard one for me. I enjoy The Whole Nine Yards. I think it's really funny and a good movie. However, I just came to the conclusion that I quote Step Brothers more. I've seen it more. I just enjoy it more. If I had to choose one to watch, I would choose Step Brothers, but The Whole Nine Yards is somewhat of a different comedy. It's a little more physical and I would say more clever. I just enjoy Will Ferrell that much. I enjoy this comedy more. I would just rather watch Step Brothers than The Whole Nine Yards. Now, cinematically, out of 5 total movies, it's going to be last at 5th, just below The Whole Nine Yards. It's below, Step Brothers didn't do anything cinematically, really. Wardrobe setting, it's not really doing much. It's not trying. Emotionally, it is funny. It tries to get you to feel something else. It somewhat does, but nothing incredible. The Whole Nine Yards, I just think it has a little bit deeper of a story. The characters are a little bit deeper. There's some mystery going on there. I just feel that movie does a better job representing film because it just has a little bit of a more complicated story going on and a little deeper characters, and I just think that represents film better. Now, all time, out of 37 total movies on the entertainment side, I have it second, just below Redline and above The Whole Nine Yards. It's there for the exact same reasons as the 2000s. Now, cinematically, out of 37 total movies, it's going to be 24th, just below Treasure Island and above It Ends With Us. It's really at the bottom of my list where I kind of have problems with movies going down, big problems. This movie doesn't do anything cinematically other than be funny, which is ultimately its goal. So I have to give it props there, but it's not doing anything unique. I'm not going to give it a whole lot of credit to bringing something different to film, but it just does its job well, which is be funny. So it really just ends up in what is probably going to be the just below the middle to middle range of movies where I don't have any problem with them. They just kind of exist. I have it below Treasure Island. Treasure Island is trying to do something. It's trying to bring this treasure pirate aspect. It's like easily better cinematically, I would say. It's bringing more to film than what Step Brothers is doing. That's not necessarily a hard ranking. Now, I have it above It Ends With Us because I had problems with It Ends With Us. I feel there are casting problems, somewhat of plot problems. The movies had potential to be really, really good, but it really fell down on a lot of aspects. And I just think that's worse when it comes to representing film as an art. A film that does its job, which is be funny, but nothing more, I would say, is better than a movie that was trying to do something more, but ultimately failed. That's all I've got for Step Brothers. One of my favorite movies. It's actually not my favorite Will Ferrell movie. I'd love to know yours. Make sure you comment a movie that you want me to watch. If you want that movie expedited, then I have a link for PayPal in the description that you can donate any amount of money and I will expedite your review over others who have not donated. If you want to watch somebody who does similar reviews that I do, same kind of format, ranking movies all time against the same year and decade, then check out my best friend Bosso's movie reviews. He does all kinds of reviews. He is up to like 50-something movies. He's blown me out of the water. He's able to do this a little bit more, but he has a very different opinion. I would say he takes movies a little less serious than I do, so make sure you check him out if you're interested. Make sure to comment a movie you want me to review and subscribe so that you can see me review that movie. But otherwise, I'm Mr. Majoritarian. Stay classy, San Diego.